Hi there, I'm Diane Clave, Councilwoman here in Summit, and I'm at the Carter House, the historic Carter House on Butler Parkway. Jesse, come on in. We're going to go have a tour. Let's see who's home. Hello? Anyone home? Sheila.
Welcome to the Carter House.
Thank you so much. This is Sheila Deutsch. Sheila is, what is your title here? I know you run the tours and know an awful lot about the Carter House.
I was on the board, but I'm no longer on the board as of this moment. So,
Okay.
but I still do many of the tours, most of the tours. I do Colonial Day at Washington School, and I also work here on Wednesdays.
Oh, great. Okay, that's good to know. What are the hours?
The hours are Tuesday morning from 9:30 to noon, and they're 1:30 to 4 on Wednesday afternoon.
Great, and I hope that by showcasing the Carter House to Summit residents and the greater vicinity today, people will be interested in stopping by and learning more about the history of Summit, and there are so many little goodies and gems to be found in here, so start us off.
Okay, well, the house was built in 1941 by Benjamin Carter. And it was built down on the river, on the Passaic River, because he was a farmer and he needed the water for drinking and for cleansing and so forth. The house was only this big. It was the hallway and then 2 parlors.
Really?
That's all there was to it.
Okay.
And no kitchen.
Was he a single man?
No, he was married and he had children, and he lived on the river, but this house is an example of New Jersey Dutch farmhouse. It was very simple. It was not a grand house. It was
No
very simple.
McMansions then?
No McMansions.
Okay.
So come into the parlor.
All right, Sheila, so this is the parlor.
Yes.
And there's a big cabinet full of artifacts?
Yes, we keep our valuable things in here that belong to the families. There were 3 families that are very important to this house: the Carter family, the Bunnell family, and the Sayre family. And so we have some of their valuables in here. This cane belonged to Jonathan Crane Bunnell, who was the second owner of the house.
And Bunnell is a name that I know. Sheila Bunnell serves on our planning board right now.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to find out if she's related in any way.
She is related. I've spoken to her about it. And you had mentioned that the Bunnell family had given the city the land to build the railroad.
Yes.
And we have kept one of the quadrants at the Village Green closest to the train station is actually called Bunnell Park, I believe.
Yeah, because the Bunnells owned most of that property uptown. First, the Potters owned most of where Springfield Avenue is today, and then the Bunnells. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's
Just let me show you a
cane.
few things here, and then we'll move on. Is that okay?
Sure, of course.
All right. So the second thing I'd like to show you that is not connected with one of the owners, it is a Congressional Medal of Honor.
Wow.
And it was won by Thomas O'Shea. He was a 17-year-old person who served from Summit in France, and he was involved in a skirmish with Eggers, Alan Eggers, and he lost his life in the skirmish. Alan Eggers came home wounded. Summit is believed to be the smallest town to receive 2 Congressional Medals of Honor from that war.
Let me test your memory. You know the other name?
Alan Eggers.
Oh, he won one also.
Yes,
Wow.
Thomas O'Shea.
And he's related to you. No?
No.
Oh, I thought he was related to you.
No, Alan
Okay.
Eggers is, no.
Okay.
It would be
Wow.
nice, but we just named a street after him.
Oh, okay. Eggers Court.
Eggers Court,
Yes.
and O'Shea Lane was,
Right.
yes, so we're trying to honor them.
That's wonderful.
Another interesting thing in here is, this is a leather license plate. It's one of the first license plates ever, and this belonged to Edwin S. Vody from Summit. He was on the council.
Of course he was.
Yeah.
Yes.
And we also have his license.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Their family's been very generous, donating their things to us.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Okay.
You could spend a couple of hours perusing this case alone.
While we're here, I just want to mention, this is one of the Sayres.
He was a police chief.
Yes, he was our police chief for a very long time, and he just passed away a few years ago, so we were lucky to have that family stay in Summit for so long.
Definitely.
The house is well preserved.
This is
because
perhaps
it
his?
stayed in the family. No, this is the fire chief's.
Oh,
this is Charles
okay, of
Eckley's
course, that's not
from
a police
while ago. Yeah. What we did, we had a fire department display here for a while. It was really great.
Uh-huh.
So,
Wonderful.
and over here we have a picture of the World War I. This is the ambulance corps that Summit sent to France. And in the center is Dr. Lawrence. He founded Overlook Hospital in 1906, and then he founded the medical group. And he was called the boy doctor because he was very, very bright.
Wow. You know, this building here looks like the Summit YMCA. Could that possibly be?
No, this is right up there.
This
on
is
the hill.
Overlook?
Right up on the
okay.
hill.
All
Yep,
right.
it's right up there.
Similar.
We used to sleigh ride down.
Oh, nice. And in the case down here, this is fascinating. Tell
Yes.
us about that.
Well, that is the first library in Summit, and it is now the home of the Summit Playhouse.
That is lovely.
So this is a diorama that some board members made quite a while ago, and we use it for educating the children and everyone else about Summit's role in the Revolutionary War.
You know, that's just remarkable. It's museum quality.
Yes, it's beautiful.
It really is.
We love it.
beautiful.
In the forefront there, we have the Passaic River,
Uh-huh.
and the road that you see that you follow up the hill was an Indian trail. Then it became King's Highway, and that now it's known as Route 24.
Oh, and what's at the very top?
At the top is the beacon. Summit's role in the Revolutionary, one of the things they did was there was colonial soldiers stationed up on that hill. And during the Revolutionary War, George Washington had about 20 beacons in New Jersey, and they were people that were watching, the soldiers that were watching for any movement by the British. And up there, maybe there were 20 colonial soldiers, and they would watch the New York harbor. And if they saw the British approaching, they would light that. They would make a pyramid of logs, stuff it with dry leaves, and then ignite it, and this fire and the smoke would signal Washington, and he'd be in Morristown.
Mm-hmm.
And then he would look up on his map and say, oh, signal number 10 on the Hobart Hill,
Right.
see some movement of the British. And so we were pretty important. And of course, that's why Summit has a beacon for its
Our logo, kind of
Our
a
logo,
modern
yeah.
interpretation of the beacon. So let's move on into the library,
Okay.
and you can show us some treasures in there. All right, we've moved into the library, which I hear has a different had a different purpose.
Yes, the Carter family used it for their birthing room. There was no hospitals or any place to go, so this is where the children were born. So it has a special feeling, this room.
I'm glad there's a fireplace.
Yeah.
Provide some warmth during those
Notice
difficult
how
hours
narrow.
of labor. Yes.
The fireplaces were very
Why
narrow.
is that?
They thought they would give off more heat, but actually
Oh.
they didn't. I read in a book once that 3 feet from the fireplace you could freeze things in the winter.
Wow.
So that's how cold these houses were.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Historical Society has turned this into a library, as you can see.
Mhm.
So we have quite a collection of books on Summit, on Union County, on New Jersey, and people do come to research their books. We've had high school students come who are studying architecture, and they come here, they look through our books, and then they go to our files and look at the houses that are in Summit.
Mhm.
So, and the Questers and other people have donated this beautiful furniture, so it has its Victorian flair.
Wonderful. I see some lamps in here from the Victorian era as well.
Mhm.
Really lovely. And look at that lamp. That's
Isn't-
that's
Yeah.
unbelievable. The shade is just
Mhm.
pretty spectacular.
That was donated by a Summit member. Yeah.
Very nice. And the old bottles, were they dug up or
They're dug up bottles, and then this is a stereoscope that it was in all the libraries during that time where people would go in, and that was their entertainment to look at cards that were a little magnified.
Mm-hmm. And this is really sweet. The little the blocks.
The blocks, the toys.
Oh, they're wonderful. Oops. This is
Another
all
interesting
stuck together.
thing is that we have journals, actual journals of Summit people
Uh-huh.
that they wrote, and we're able to keep them very special.
How
here.
wonderful that someone donated them.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is great.
Okay.
Let's move
Shall we
on
go
in.
out to the hall?
We shall. So we're in the front hall now
Yes,
again, and you had mentioned the Sayer family. I see a
Yes.
beautiful dress and jacket from Kate Sayer.
That's Kate Sayer's dress, and behind her dress and her cape is a picture of Kate Sayer and a letter that she wrote when she lived in the house by the river.
Wow.
And her granddaughter, Doris Hunt, who just moved away, donated it to us.
That's wonderful. What's the letter say?
Very special. The letter says how, nice it was to live
Oh.
by the water, and it was written in 1830-something, yeah.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, moving down here, we have another one of the Summit beacons, the new style.
Uh-huh.
Oh, this is from the Centennial.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, and some beautiful paintings here of the Manleys.
Mm-hmm. Above the sign
move on
there
over here.
is a picture of Mary Ann and Charles Manley. They owned a lot of property in Summit, where the Rosary Shrine is today, the gas station, the Manley Court Apartments, St. Teresa's Church, and Fair Oaks. Their original house was built where the Rosary Shrine is now. Before the Rosary Shrine was their home, and it was called Fair Oaks, and it was very elaborate. And they got unhappy with that house, and they built another one where the Fair Oaks Hospital, or it's called the Summit Hospital now.
Yes, the name changed. Mhm.
Uh-huh. And they also donated or sold their lands, a part of their land, to St. Teresa's Church. They were Catholic, and they said that you must build a church of stone. And behind our stone church is the small church that they requested.
Mhm.
So it's quite a
Is that
history.
kept very much intact?
Oh, it is
inside?
beautiful. It's been it's completely done over. It's beautiful.
Wow. See, I would have assumed that the church across the street from St. Teresa's was the original one.
No, the original one was up on the hill.
Okay.
Then the one that's across the street was built in front of that one.
Uh-huh.
And in 1925 or so, it was taken down the hill. The little stone church remained, and the new stone church was built.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
quite the history.
This is interesting, too. This is a standing spinning wheel.
Uh-huh.
So the lady who spun wool on this would walk back and forth and probably walk about 25 miles a day.
Mm. And you'll show us some of the other tools that were used in the wool spinning as well.
Yes.
When we hit another room.
Mhm.
That's beautiful.
Also, let's note that the doorway is there, and then the back door is there,
Uh-huh.
and that allowed colonial people to get a little breeze. That was their air conditioning.
Oh.
They opened
That's
both
great.
doors in the summer.
Uh-huh. Kind of a wind tunnel. That's
Mhm.
wonderful. Where are we going to
So-
go now?
We're going to go to the next addition, which was added on in about 40 years later,
Okay.
after the 1741.
And where do they sleep?
They may have slept here where there may have been a ladder here to go upstairs, and they would sleep sort of on a loft situation.
Uh-huh.
We're not
Okay.
quite sure.
Yeah, because the house did end here. I guess
Yeah, it ended here.
it ended here.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
guess they would have to be up
Mhm.
there. Otherwise, where
Yeah.
would they be?
Yeah.
And how about a kitchen? Where would the original kitchen have been?
There was no kitchen.
There was no kitchen.
Colonial people, early colonial people, had no kitchens. They had to keep their food outside to preserve it. They had of course, no refrigeration, so they would keep their food, either smoke it,
Mm-hmm.
dry it, or in the winter keep it outside, sort of in the ground
What
where
about
it would be
food prep?
cold.
Where was the food preparation done?
Outside.
Outside, even in
Yeah.
the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a harsh life.
When you start thinking about it, it really is a harsh life.
Sure is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's move into the more modern area. But before we do that, there's a beautiful proclamation from the Common Council to Dr. Risk. Tell us about this.
Well, Dr. James Risk and Dr. William Risk were brothers, and Dr. James Risk was mayor of Summit in 1906. And his house is across from the Rosary Shrine. It's that beautiful stone house that was Brow Funeral Home,
Right.
and now is being developed.
Mm-hmm.
And so we feel that that home is quite historic. We're happy that they're going to try to keep it really the way it was. But this is a special proclamation thanking him for being mayor of Summit. So we're proud
That's
to have
beautiful.
that.
Would you mind repeating the story behind how this was located? It's a great story.
Well, the story is that Virginia Dearborn, who still lives in Summit, was on a tour on some island, and the tour guide was talking about, giving the tour, and I guess Virginia started to get friendly with her, and they both shared that Virginia was from Summit, and this girl had relatives in Summit many years ago. It turned out that it was a risk relative, said she had this proclamation, and she gave it to Virginia.
That is so wonderful.
And Virginia gave it to us, so it's very special.
Goes to show it's a small world. It truly is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
So
move
we'll
on.
move
And,
on to the addition.
that brings up another question. If Summit residents today find something, stuffed in an attic, or if they've lived here for a long time and they want to give something to the Historic Society, how do they go about doing that?
Well, they just call us up, or they come here and they show it to us, and we take it. For instance, when I showed you the Vody leather license plates, Pat Vody lives on Canoe Brook, and she donated that to us.
Okay.
So that's how you would do that.
Good. All right.
And we value it. We would take very good care of it.
Great.
So we'll go in this room.
We're here in the dining room now, which was added on when?
About 40 years after the house was built.
Okay, and just a single room or
Yes.
more?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Mhm.
And it was used as a dining room?
Yes.
Oh, so now they're reading
So they're
inside.
getting up a little bit in the
That's
world.
great. Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful oil painting here of?
Yes, this is Jonathan Crane Bunnell. He was the second owner of the house. He married one of Benjamin Carter's daughters. And we call him the father of Summit because when the railway was being laid, in about 1830s, they were going from Morristown to Newark, and they were not going to include Summit because we were too high. We were a challenge to go up the hill with the tracks. Seth Boyden, who invented the railroad car engine, built an extra special strong one and said that he could do that. And Jonathan Crane Bunnell donated his land free so that the railroad could come into Summit. And that's very important to our
what
history.
a forward thinker was he.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're now a hub, transportation hub.
Very important
That is
to us.
wonderful.
Yeah,
It's a beautiful painting.
it is. We're very proud to have that.
He looks like a really nice man.
And I showed you his cane before.
You
remember?
did. Yes,
Yeah.
you did.
And another,
Beautiful samplers on the wall here.
that's his daughter Mehitabel Bunnell's sampler. Was made in about 1834. The girls in the evening would sit by candlelight, and their chore was to sew mainly the alphabet, but any sampler that has a building in it is very important. That was considered to be very special. So hers was excellent,
Probably took some extra special skill to do that.
I would think.
Yeah, that's a very complex one.
Hmm.
It's beautiful. What can you tell us about the dress?
Well, the lady in front of the sampler is sitting in a Lytel dress. The Lytels, of course, there's a building uptown called the Lytel Building, and they had the first grocery store in Summit, which was on the corner of Maple and Union Place. And over there in this room also is a painting of one of their descendants who came here and gave us a lot of their belongings, gave us their linens, their many, many things, including that painting. We believe it is B. Lytel, but we're not sure.
BEA?
BEA, yeah.
Yeah. And beautiful corner cabinet over here with some exquisite china from, what, the early 1900s, late 1800s?
Yes, early 1900s. That cabinet is very special because when you go to Drumthwacket, there is a colonial building on that property, and it has the identical corner cabinet. I noticed it when I was there. And some of the pottery and china was given to us by old Summit families.
Are these historic colors in here that are used on the wall?
Yes, we try to keep everything historic, yeah.
It's really beautiful, and I hope before Jesse leaves, he'll be able to take a shot of these fabulous floors. They're in they're very well maintained, and they're kind of dip, and they're wonderful cracks in between, and they just have a tremendous amount of history. Really beautiful.
You're right about that. The floors are authentic, as are most of the windows. Even when the house was moved to this spot, we didn't lose the windows, you know, so that was a plus.
And that was before moving, men, with all the packing materials. Now we're going to move where?
We're going to the colonial kitchen, the
Oh,
real
right.
colonial.
This
You'll be
is-
excited. You
this
can
is
finally
fabulous.
cook in
Yeah.
style.
That's right. After you. Okay, Sheila, we made it into the kitchen. Very exciting, and what a kitchen it is. When was this added?
This was added shortly after the other room. We're not exactly sure.
Okay.
So now the mother finally has her best kitchen to cook in,
Right.
and you can see that
It's quite the stove.
Yeah, it's quite the stove. And some of them had actually like hooks with chains hanging down, and they would put the pots on that.
Right.
Others would have this latch that would pull out, and then they could hang the pots.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So that's what this one had.
This one looks safer because you'd be able to get further away from the flames.
The flames, yeah. The 8-year-old boys, or around that age, would be responsible for keeping the fire going all day long, because the mother was cooking all day long because the fathers were out hunting and gathering food for their family, and the mother was cooking most of the day.
And so you called this the most dangerous room in the house.
It is, because the colonial women wore the dresses like this. They were always working near the flame. This is a beehive oven where they would keep things warm.
It's not a pizza oven, it's for bread and stuff.
Not a pizza oven. And some of the things are interesting. The children that come through love to identify these things. Of course, this is a candle maker, and candles were so important because there was no light other than a candlelight.
Right. And I picked up on this item. I think this is just fabulous. I guess you can raise or lower it depending upon the task that's at hand. If you're sitting and reading, you pull it down closer, and if I don't know, if you need to illuminate the room, you'd raise it up.
Yeah,
I've never
isn't it
seen anything
wonderful?
like that. It's just
It's
so wonderful.
Has a ratchet, can move up and down. It's fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Could just picture the girl sitting there sewing.
That's right.
This is a toaster. You put your bread in here.
That's big enough for a bagel.
With
And that's
Put
an
it open.
unusual cast iron pot there with the feet.
the feet.
Never seen one with feet before.
Well, they needed to have feet. Most of them had feet because they were going to sit in the ashes. So they wanted to keep them up above the ashes, you know.
Wow, it's beautiful.
So,
And these were generally donated by Summit residents as well?
yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, and here we have some of the things that were, some of the tools that were used with the wool and spinning the wool. We mentioned that before.
Yes, the colonial people didn't have the opportunity to go to stores to buy their clothing, so they needed to have sheep, and they would shear the sheep, and that after they would get wool like this, the wool would be oily and seedy and dirty from being outside, so they needed various implements or tools to clean the wool. And this is called a hatchel. Looks very dangerous, doesn't
Sure
it?
does.
That cleaned the wool, and this is called a carder, and they would pull it through these teeth.
Would that clean it as well, or
And
does
it
that
would clean
straighten
it
out
also.
the
Yeah,
fibers?
it would clean it also.
Okay. So we're now in the guts of the Carter house. This is where all of the information is stored and collated, and it must be a tremendous amount of work for you and the team to do this. And you have records not only from old time, original Summit people, but you have information on the structures, residences, as well as schools and churches and municipal buildings and businesses, and you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all
That's right.
easy to access and alphabetized and all of that. And before we came in, I asked you to pull out your family's information so that we can give people a taste of what is contained in here.
Okay.
Can you run us through what
Sure.
what your file contains?
So if I had come in here and wasn't aware of what the Historical Society does, I would ask them if they had any information on my family. My maiden name is Grasso. The Grasso family has been in Summit goes back, my grandparents were here, my great-grandparents were here.
Wow.
And my grandfather was a builder, and he built all of Sylvan Terrace, if you know where that is.
I do.
And my father became a Summit policeman very young. So we have pictures of him as a young policeman in here. We have a story about him because he was involved in the Lindbergh kidnapping. He was asked to take care of a witness who actually stayed in our house for a while.
That is unbelievable.
Isn't it? It
Nowadays,
really
as if that would ever be even considered.
that would never happen. I don't
Do you
know
have any
if-
idea how long he stayed?
I have no idea how long he stayed because I was an infant and my mother would just talk about it occasionally, how it was kind of frightful for her to have a young family and to have a strange man in her house.
Right.
And she knew little or nothing about him except that he was involved in a trial, so it was kind of daunting for her.
Yeah.
It is wonderful to come in here because the Historical Society not only maintains the building itself, we maintain the archives of the town. So we have, as you said, we have families, we have the homes, we have the schools, we have the churches, we have the police department, the fire department, and it's very important for people when they come here and they realize that. We have all the directories of the, like when they would take a census and so forth. And people come, there's the maps. People come to look up, like, what their property looked like many years ago and so forth.
I have a friend who has a beautiful home, and I asked you to pull out
Her file.
so that we could look at some of the history of her home.
So if your
And
friend
there's a
came
lot
in
in
here,
here.
she would be very excited because this house is 49 Hobart Avenue. It is very beautiful, very unusual. This is a picture of it as it looks now, kind of, I believe.
Yep, and she kept the colors true to the historical nature of the home.
And I recognize it as a place that the Red Cross was in for a very short time.
Wow.
I would say maybe, well, it was many years ago. And then, as you saw, we read about the Hood School was there.
The
It
Hood
was-
School.
yeah.
Is that a girls' school or don't know?
I don't really know. I'd have to look that up again. But two sisters, Jeanette and Bessie Hood, operated the elementary school, the private school. There were many private schools in Summit.
Well, this has been an unbelievable eye-opener, Sheila, and I've learned a tremendous amount.
I'm so
Thank you
happy
so
that you
much for
came.
taking us on the
Yeah.
tour. Yeah,
And I hope many other people will come visit us.
I hope so.
Yeah. And again, I'd like to give the hours again.
Oh, please.
It's Tuesday morning, 9:30 to noon, and then it's Wednesday afternoons from 1:30 to 4.
Okay, and it's on Butler Parkway. Not
on-
many people, well, some people get confused as to where Butler Parkway is. It runs in between River Road and Morris Avenue, kind of alongside Metro Homes and Tatlock Field, about halfway down the street. So I encourage everyone to come in here, take a look at all the wonderful artifacts and learn more about the house, and come in and do some research, not only on their own homes and families perhaps, but on some of the more, historic, beautiful structures that we still have left here in Summit. Thanks again.
Thank you, Diane.
You're welcome, and thank you for watching.